We'll do the Ary prayer. All right. Together, we give homage to the Creator, who is like our Father, and who is like our Mother, who is everything that we can perceive and everything that we cannot perceive, who is everything, yet is no thing, who comes to us in the form of the Ankh-Ra, who is the light of the heavens, the light of the inner planes, and the light of our lives, who shines the light through us on the path of Ma'ati, who is the path of truth, justice, righteousness, and harmonious balance, who comes to us in the form of the light of vitality, giving us the strength and endurance to live and act upon that we know to be true. Homage to you, the one who shines in and through us as a beacon of light, for those who are blind to the facts of their place, position, and responsibility in the divine scheme of things. May we be Ma'at-Karu, true of word, thought, and deed, to our highest reality, and in our moments of crises and the dark nights of the soul, when it appears that everyone and everything else has let us down. So shall it be. Ma'at-Karu, Amen Ma'at, Ma'at-Karu, 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 Ma'at-Karu. MC. Hopefully that was a little better than the first time I did it, so I'm going to acknowledge and thank them for trusting me with that again. Okay, I did that. Now, for those who may not know, my name is Sonjedi Ankh-Ra of the Ary-Nefer clan. Okay. And I am the royal scribe of the Sesh of the Temple of Anu, as well as the Saruj Tawid, which is a collection of temples, which would include the Temple of Anu, Nu Aset Temple, and the Temple of Raseki Arts, Healing Temple. So let's get straight to it. How did we get here? Why are we here? So as Hemet has mentioned earlier, last week we visited the shrine of Ma'at. And we shared our concerns for the undeserved attack upon our elder. Now, our elder, Baba Haru Ankh-Ra Samad, he has explained the context for why people may have misinterpreted him. So what was explained is that the reason he had a negative view of an aspect of things that happen in West Africa is the fact that you have all these Christian churches in West Africa. And then you have people who abuse religion as a result of colonialism. That's why he said he wouldn't step foot in West Africa. It has nothing to do with going against the spiritual system of Ifa or Voodoo or anything like that. Nothing. So, hopefully that's clear. And if anything like that is repeated moving forward, that means that those people are not listening. And it means that they don't want to listen. So this whole thing about Kemet versus West Africa, put that down the drain.
That's right.
It is invalid with capital D at the end.
That's right.
Okay? Anybody talks that, disregard them.
That's right.
All right. Pardon me, I'm going to be a little bit more passionate than normal. Mm-hmm. But we got a lot of information. We got some information to go through. We have some text that we're going to go through and some history, and so that you can know what's going on, how we got here. And it's important for you to know. So, I'm going to start off with a quote coming from Ptah-hotep, Maxim 4, column 6, lines 84 through 88. See that? We need to be specific. So if a Christian can say Matthew, number, or in the Quran, surah, da-da-da-da, y'all, we need to be able to do the same with our text. That's right. You on the same page? Yeah. Okay. Ptah-hotep says this: if you are a leader giving command for the conduct of many, seek out for yourself every kind of effective deed until your conduct is without error in it. Ma'at is great, its sharpness lasting. So in other words, if you are in a position to influence people, you have to go out of your way, you have to make the extra effort to have as little error as possible. None of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. However, you have to do the best that you can to keep that to a minimum. Our Naswu would say something like, we all have contradictions, right? But you want to keep yours to a bare minimum. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So, in other words, things that you have shortcomings upon. So, as a community, we've seen growth. Is that right? We've seen growth over the past 50 plus years. We see temples, we see shrines, we see organization. But we also see the attack. And the attack, it gives us actually a teaching moment. Being attacked doesn't mean that you're going to fall apart. That you should operate simply just out of emotion. No, it means you step back, you think about your strategy, you think about the tactics that you're going to utilize, and then you move forward. It is an opportunity for us to strengthen ourselves. And when people attack you and it is undeserved, it is what's called unprovoked aggression. But make sure you look that up, because that's used in war. The question is why? What is the purpose? See, the era of social media has its downfalls and it has its benefits. Beneficially, it's easier to communicate and find people, is that right? But then there's something else. See, if anybody could just get on the internet and just splatter their ego all over the place, what happens is people begin to lose their sense of consequence. See, if I can hide behind a computer and I can insult you, I can say, oh, well, you can't touch me anyway. I'm on the other side of the country, right? So people are doing things with little to no perceived consequence. And I'm emphasizing perceived because you think nothing can happen. You think that, oh, well, I could just ridicule people because it's fun for me. I want to ridicule people because it makes me feel better about the inadequacies of my own life. I don't have control over mine, but I can control the computer. It's kind of like, drivers out on the highway. They're driving all crazy, cutting you off, etc. And they make sure they don't look at you, right? Okay? As if you're not there. That you only exist to receive their stomping. See? They don't even acknowledge you. So the internet works the same. You can't control your home. You have relationship problems with your job, all kinds of things, and you want to take it out on others. So you drive crazy, you get on the internet. Is that going to solve anything past making you feel better about yourself, that you have some type of control? No, it doesn't. So these issues are about practitioners and we're dealing with people in the scholastic realm. Now, I'm going to make a differentiation in the scholastic realm because in fact, 90% of people who are scholastic have no problem with what we're doing. You just have this few who are, I'm going to call them intellectuals, because a scholar has morals. A scholar has ethics. You could do things that are unbecoming of a scholar. When you do things that are unbecoming of a scholar, what does it say about your character? You're a brilliant idiot. Right? So, in the Yoruba tradition, and specifically dealing with Ifa, which I am an adherent to, and I'm very open about it, I am a practitioner of what's called Isheshe, or Orisha worship. So I'm an Aborisha, as well as a Kemetic practitioner. So that's West Africa and East Africa. And yes, you can do that. There's no conflict. We have what's called Iwapwele. Iwapwele is gentle character. We have Iwarere. like correct character. So at the end, the commonality is Iwa. It's about character. So what do we do when you feel challenged? Do you break apart? Do you start to insult people? Do you try to bring them down? That talks about your character. Do you make videos and try to laugh at people? That's about your character. Whether you are scholastic or a practitioner. Mm-hmm. See, small egos that portray themselves as big egos knows no bounds. So it's that character thing. So as practitioners, we relate our collective issues with, our personal life. And it's reflected back and forth. So today, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to speak about these issues, and I'm going to relate some of my personal experiences that's actually reflective of the larger community. And these experiences that I've had made me realize the urgent importance of having a balanced and a symmetrically applied to the collective self-development. Two of the people who have been most influential on my realization of the need to bring things together. We have Dr. Raketti Almond, who is not only my immediate teacher, but she's also my teacher's teacher. So my first instructor, for those who don't know, is Ankh-Ra. He's the author of the book, Let the Ancestors Speak. I met him when I was 19 years old, so I was still a teenager. That's when I started my studies with him. The same year, I met and began my studies under Infodisha Chihudi Meska and Haru Hassan Kamal Salim. He was my second teacher of Medu Necha, and I was initiated in the Kara Chihuti Haru Nethu. And that's where I got more of my more interpretation of what it means to be African-centered. And I literally sat at his feet after class, did that for several years. He was sitting in a chair, he was on the floor. So, literally. And Dr. Raketti Almond has a vision. Her vision is to merge the practitioner with the scholar. Anyone who's ever taken her class knows that we begin with the Hotep di Naswu. And this is a formula that you can see from the oldest period of Kemet all the way through. And we begin that in the class, and we recognize the creative force of the universe, we recognize our ancestors, and we call their names. Is that about right? Anyone's been in my class, that's where I got it from. I got it from her, so I want to give that credit. And then we go on with the scholarship. So this is part of her vision. Another person who's been influential has been Baba Haru, Samaj. In his philosophy of Simatawi, he speaks about the union of the left and the right brain. And we ascribe certain aspects to the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain. And all technicalities are in quadrants, but we'll do hemispheres for right now. So, the right side deals with like art, right? It deals with art. It deals with a global world, global perspective, connecting things together, synthesis. When you deal with the left side of the brain, you're dealing with analysis, mathematics, things that are linear. And then you have in the middle the corpus callosum, which enables the two hemispheres to communicate with each other. And this we learn in biology. Anyone knows I love biology, I love neuroscience. I went to school for pre-medical biology, and I'm a medical technician, so I'm all in there. So, with that being said, these two hemispheres, see, in our brain, does it conflict with each other? Does the right side conflict with the other side? No. So we shouldn't have these scholastic having a conflict with the spiritual, if you will. So when we utilize both sides of the brain, or all parts of the brain, if you will, we deal with circumspection. Circumspection. This is where you're dealing with circular thinking. We don't circle means circle. Expect to look at something. You want to look at all parts together. How do they work together? We have to understand the differences between the literal interpretations of things and the symbolic interpretations of things. And that's part of the argument. See, we understand that when we do ritual, we know it's symbolic. We don't think it's literal, do we? No. We understand that it's symbolic. And the word symbol means to reflect. That's what, so when you look it up, it's like a mirror. So you have to have the original thing first, and then something can be mimicked. And we do ritual in order to remember and reflect and to remind us to be empowered. So, looking at things circumspectively, I'm going to attempt to look at all sides here. So, there's going to be 4 parts. Going to address practitioners, going to address intellectuals, specifically those who are anti-ritual, anti-ceremony, which shows a lack of cultural awareness. I'm going to address elders. That part's going to be a challenge. I'll take the heat for it. However, I will be as respectful as possible, and hopefully I can demonstrate that respect to elders even when you're giving criticism. And the importance of how we learn that children should always respect elders. We hear that phrase, respect your elders. There's something else. Elders respect children. See? If my child, my daughter, if she's crying and she's in need and she's hungry, but if in my own arrogance and lack of self-control, I yell at her, what am I doing? I'm disrespecting her due to my lack of understanding, which I should have, right? As an adult, the more seasoned you get, the more control you're expected to have in situations. So we'll come back to that. Then the youth, and it will be about how you respect elders. And there's a way to approach elders when you have differences or if you have a grievance. So nobody's off the hook. So I'm going to challenge all of us today. I'm defending you, but I'm also challenging you as well. So nothing's ever one-sided. All right, practitioners. Here's a quote. Follow your heart as long as you live. Has anyone ever heard that quote? Where have you heard it from? Tahoe maybe? Okay, who see it? That would come from Tahoe. So please get this work here. Ancient Egyptian Literature by Mary Mitchell. This is volume 1. So as practitioners, we have agency. Is that correct? We have agency. And we have the right to live our lives as we see fit. So if there's people out there who, don't like it, mind your business. Pardon my expression. I'm venting a little bit. I'm trying to keep this as a teaching moment. Why does it hurt your life? Does it mean that you have less food in your refrigerator? Does it mean that you're injured some type of way? Is your health insurance affected? Does it mean you're getting less sleep? Well, maybe. Because of your own thoughts. Why do you care? Oh, you're teaching pseudo-isms in the community. Oh, well, there is something called pseudo-intellectualism. You can look that up. Pseudo-intellectualism is when someone professes to have knowledge that he or she does not actually have. And actually, that kind of goes for both sides, practitioners and intellectuals. But in this case, you have people who do not have that grounding in cultural awareness. And because of that lack, people will compensate with intellectual isms. When I say isms, I'm talking about ideologies. when you add the isms there. Let me ask you a question as spiritual practitioners. Does your spirituality make you feel grounded? Does it make you feel secure? Does it make you feel at peace? All right, good. Well, in Afrocentricity, anyone ever have, let's see. See, I'm doing a scholarship thing. I'm a practitioner, but we got the scholarship thing here to show you that you can do both. You on the same page? So everyone should have this book, Afrocentricity, A Theory of Social Change. This is the revised and expanded edition by Malefi Asante. Okay. So on page 2, it says this, Afrocentricity, this is the definition. Afrocentricity is a mode of thought and action in which the centrality of African interests, values, and perspectives predominate. So we have to think about what are our values. In regards to theory, it is the placing of African people in the center of any analysis of African phenomena. Thus, it is possible for anyone to master the discipline of seeking the location of Africans in any given phenomenon. Take note here. In terms of action and behavior, it is a devotion to the idea that what is best for the interests of African consciousness is at the heart of ethical behavior. How do you react? How do you respond? All this is in your behavior. So what are the ethics that guide your behavior? When you're making fun of people and all that kind of stuff, is that ethical? Well, no, I don't think so. However, now for practitioners, we have to think about if someone challenges your idea, how do you respond? Do we respond with anger because someone challenged our belief? Is it a real threat? Think about that. Is it a threat because someone asked a question? So we understand that our beliefs are connected with our sense of security. So let's do a little neurology for a second here. So we all know that we have our cortex, right? We have our cerebral cortex. We have a frontal lobe, parietal lobe, etc. So there's something out there. There's different theories about how the brain processes perceived dangers. So the prefrontal cortex, you have the limbic system, you have the amygdala, etc. And when the prefrontal cortex sees something, it processes really quick, and then now you have body reaction to something perceived as danger. That has to do with predators, people attacking you, etc. We're talking about physical things. Our belief is also connected, has to do with the prefrontal cortex as well. So that's why when somebody challenges your belief, you can get a physical reaction, because the same area that perceives danger and has to do with security is the same area that has to do with belief. Because your belief is connected to your worldview, which is your sense of reality. So my sense of reality tells me that when I walk, the floor is not going to fall. But if it falls, now things start happening. So then the question is, for my practitioners, if someone asks you a question, like, well, what is it that you pray to? Do you get a reaction? Do we put it in context? Is this person actually in danger? Endangering you? So you have to ask yourself that. Because these are some of the criticisms that those of us who are in the intellectual or scholastic realm have of practitioners. So now let's think about those things and take responsibility. How am I contributing to some of the issues? So let me give you some of my experiences. The first one I had I went to the Salsa Society. This is like 2004. And, I was reading around the Four Almonds books. I was intrigued, etc. By this point, I was already doing Metta Nature. I was already in the shrine under Infobisha Jehudimes. Therefore, whenever I look at terms, I'm always going to the dictionary. I need to see the signs. And really, for you to get a full understanding of a term or a phrase, you have to look at the signs. If you want to get what's called African deep thought, that our ancestor Asa Hilly speaks about, African deep thought. Even Wade Noble speaks about that as well. You have to look at the signs and then know what it is. So, Rutherford Amen, he puts people in 3 tiers. That's just the information I got. I don't know if he changed it since then. So you have Sahu person, like Sahu man. This is like someone who's not initiated. Then you have the Ab man, and then you have the Asar man. So Asar man is the enlightened person. The Ab man or person is someone who's on the path of initiation or in the initiation process. Now, Sahu, at that time, I did not understand why Sahu was being used. So, I'm like, well, let me look it up first and then ask the question. So I looked it up. I looked up S-A-H-U, S-H-U, S-H-U. Anyone who's used Budget Dictionary knows some of that. I looked up every possible combination I could think of. Nothing clicked for me. So I said, okay, now I'm going to ask one of the priests there. Now, mind you, this is only one of those priests. So people listening out on social media, don't say, oh, he's saying the priest of Society, don't read Meta Nature. Do not say that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about this one person. So this one person, I asked, well, what does it mean? I don't understand. And I want to understand. And this particular priest told me that, well, knowing the hieroglyphs is not important. So, that affected me. That's what started my journey of saying, wait a minute, how are you going to be a priest, but you don't even attempt? Now, granted, everybody is not going to be a scholar. Everybody's going to be on different levels, but dang, you tell me it's not important? That's crazy. Say that to a Muslim. Say, Arabic's not important. That might not go over well. So why is it different when it comes to our stuff, right? So now just to move forward on that, I've since made amends with that particular priest. Him and I have talked and we resolved it. So I'm no longer angry. I was angry for a long time. So I'm no longer angry. I talked to him. I said, this will happen. This is how it made me feel. And I didn't go to him until my late 30s. This happened when I was 23, late 30s. I had a conversation with him. And he said, man, I don't remember, but I'm sorry if I made you feel some type of way. And I'm like, wow, I just looked that off my chest. So we have since resolved it with each other. So I want to give him respect. I don't think saying his name is necessary at this time. So you can see why I'm real amped about learning Meta Nature. In addition to look who my teachers are. Okay? Next, chakras. Now, chakras, we get that from India. It is a valid system, and we respect their culture. And yes, we are free to make correspondences. Yes. But here's the issue that I came across. So, I do want to give respect to Malaka Ashby for his work. It's been influential in me. However, I do have some criticisms. So just because I have criticism doesn't mean I don't respect. And then us as practitioners, we can't take criticism as, oh, you're attacking me. All right? Don't have that immediate response unless the person is actually attacking you. If they ask a question and you get in your feelings, hold on, she's asking a question. It's not the end of the world, the ground's not going to fall. All right, now, in one of his works that I first saw, the judgment scene where they say this is what chakras are on the post of the balance. Anyone? Raise your hand if you've seen that or heard of that. Okay. So, I don't know if you kind of see this picture. And I'm doing this because I'm being open and honest with you today. Anyone ever seen anything like that before? Somewhat? Okay. So, that comes from what's called the Kina Papyrus. Now, on the post, it has like circles on it, right? They say these are the chakras. It's 8, you go 7, and then above the post is 8. That's 8 chakra, etc. And people are basing their belief on this. Here's the problem. This is the disadvantage of not going to primary sources. This is where you need scholarship. If you go to the King of Papyrus, you realize that those circles are actually ink blotches. Anybody ever take a marker and just put it on the paper or just actually leave it there, then it starts to like spread like that? That's what that is. So, and if you get the actual, go on the internet, look up King of Papyrus, Quenna, Quenna Papyrus. Look it up, images will pop up. You see the color, you'll see ink blotches on other parts of the papyrus. So you mean to say that the chakras are like in these random places on the papyrus? Maybe that's why in the book it's hand-drawn and it's not showing the original document. So now we're basing our, not everyone, but in this particular case, well, I'm basing my spiritual system off of somebody who made something up. Is that right? No, it's wrong. And because we correct this, doesn't mean you're not spiritual all of a sudden. No, it doesn't mean that. It means that some reevaluation has to be made. That's all that means. And when you discover these things, it doesn't mean that we have to insult this person. Okay? He still does good work. Okay? He still does good work. That's one of my criticisms, as someone who's scholastic, because I want to be able to base my spiritual practice, which is ceremonial ritual, where research and evidence can back it up. Wouldn't you feel good that you know that the rituals that we do in this temple is based off of research and actual rituals? That we can go in the food, we can do this all day about the detail that's done here. We can go to the temple of Ankh-Ra, Sonjedi the first of the 19th dynasty, he's the second ruler. We can go in that temple. We can go to the Berlin Papyrus and look at all the steps, etc. You do it here. That's what you witness. And we have the agency to adapt and adopt. And if people don't like it, oh well. But again, evidence-based practice is what we're doing here. So that's that critique. Then I want to speak about our great ancestor, Dr. Yosef Ben Yaakov. So he's one of our fathers. He's one of our fathers, hands down. And we always revere him. So when I was in college, my first college, Community College of Philadelphia, in my early 20s, I was going hard, had a lot of energy, debating all the time, getting it in. So a Jewish scholar came to the college, and he's presenting on what they're calling the Israel Stellar, which is really the Murder Patah Stellar. Anyone knows who Murder Patah is? He's the 13th son and successor of Usma Ankh-Ra, Setepera, Ramesses Am. Ramesses II. Okay. Little practice, you can rock it out too. So afterwards, him and I get into a discussion, kind of like a soft debate, and I was talking about the Africanity of Kemet. I'm saying it's Kemet, it's not Egypt. I'm just going in. You know the things that we learned. And I was going to some metal lecture. I was writing it down. I was getting it. I'm like, yeah, I got it. Right? That was my ego. And then I used a quote from Dr. Ben, and in which we come from the beginning of the Nile, by happy groves. We're the mountains of the moon. All right, pardon me if I didn't say it totally correct. I know the scholars going to get it, and that's okay. I'll take that. So I used that, and he said, show me. I'm like, man, I don't have a book on it. He says, it's okay. He gave me his email. He said, just send me, he said, the practice of Nefer? I said, yes, sir. He said, okay, send it to me. Here's an email. I know you don't have it on you now. Cool. Guess what? I went to go find it because I'm like, I'm about to get this guy. Yeah, I'm about to. It's not there. So now, what am I supposed to do with that? I challenge anybody. Get the Pastor Nefer, do the translation, find it. It's not there. So now, what do you think that does to me? I got some cognitive dissonance going on. That rocked my reality. Because, I got caught out there. Because I did not take the time to check. There's nothing wrong with having faith in your teachers. But your teachers will tell you to look things up, right? Yeah. So that means the responsibility of the teacher is to teach the student how to fish, right? So, needless to say, I never emailed, okay, because I was in my cognitive dissonance. So, just to be open, I'm one of the people who did that criticism out there. So if you ever hear people disrespecting Dr. Ben, you know, they say, you know, his statement ain't on it. I'm one of those people. So there you have it. So you know where it comes from. I'm not the only person. But in no way did I disrespect Dr. Ben. However, it is a true statement. It may not be on the characters of Ary-Nefer, but the African origins of the Kemetic people is still there. So it's still a true statement. So if you decide to repeat it, just quote it as Dr. Ben. It's just as valid as Ary-Nefer. So we could say Dr. Ben says this. All right? And it's valid. Next. So when it comes to meta lecture, I'm going to write something here. I'm going to ask your interpretation of what this looks like. If you're a scribe, don't answer. So this right here, what does that look like?
Looks like a helix.
What? Louder? A DNA helix. Okay. Why are you interpreting it that way?
Because that's what we learned first.
You've seen it before, right? That's out of my words. Now, I challenge anyone to find that interpretation before 1950. You won't find it. The reason why is because it wasn't discovered until the 1950s. So my criticism, I was speaking to a practitioner in private, and I asked, well, why would you interpret it that way? Why not just go into the culture? You know, it's a wick, you know, and it's okay. It's still, you can still be spiritual. It's okay. And the person said, well, our ancestors, they had science. Okay, we know that. Okay. We created it, right? Said, yeah, science. You didn't tell me that they didn't have a microscopes to look at DNA? Not back then. And it's okay for them not, it's okay for the ancient Kemetic to not have microscopes. It's okay. It's okay that they didn't have hovercrafts. Okay? Because you have people who interpret, oh, that's a hovercraft. Or, you know, y'all seen that before, right?
Yeah.
Helicopter. Right? That's what people talk, when people talk about pseudo, that's what they're talking about. And those of us who are practitioners, or I'm going to say, yeah, practitioners and have Egyptophiles. See, we're practitioners. We're about that life. You have Egyptophiles, they just like the way things look. They're not really doing anything. So you have Egyptophiles who make these wild interpretations. Oh, there's aliens, etc. Right? They're making us look bad. So I need y'all to get on that. So guess what? You know what type of people make those interpretations? People who can't read metal lecture. So I want y'all to think about that. Defend your history. Defend African history. Stop letting people get away with that. Aliens didn't build pyramids. You get these images on the internet that look like space crafts, space stars, whatever. To give the inclination that aliens, except nothing. African people built it. The houses of the people who built pyramids is right next to it. Okay, that's when you do a little research. So you don't need to depend on wild fantasies. Because what our ancestors left for us is more than enough. We don't need to make up anything. We're still discovering African history. So, repeat after me. All things that occur in the universe leaves its mark. And that mark is called evidence. See how that works? So we just combine the scholastic with the spiritual, right? The laws of the universe always exemplifies that if it happened, it's going to be evidence. And we know this in forensic science. We can go in and reconstruct whole events. But people say, oh, you wasn't there. How you going to tell me? You wasn't there. You know, how you going to doing the whole Kemetic thing. Y'all wasn't back then. We can reconstruct it. Can we not? To our best of our ability. And that is our business. So, ritual. What is the importance of ritual? Anyone have any works by Marimba Ani? Okay. So, we're going to go to page 6 of this work here. Please get it. Let the circle be unbroken. Implications of African spirituality in the diaspora. Okay. I'm going to try to go a little bit faster here. To the African, the universe is made up of complementary pairs. These pairs are forces or principles of reality that are interdependent and necessary to each other. In a unified system, the divine essence, for example, is both female and male, therefore able to reproduce itself. The African worldview, I'm just skipping down. The African worldview is religious in that spiritual truths are thought to contain the essence of things. And we use the term religion here to mean that which concerns itself with spirit. That's how we use religion. Religion is our life. In fact, when the Greeks came in, Herodotus and all of them, they said the ancient Egyptians are the most religious people of anyone else in the world. So I'm kind of paraphrasing. Because to us, life is ritual, ritual is life. That is what part of what it means to be African. And anyone who tells you any different is not culturally aware. It does not have, is not competent to have the conversation. If they're saying, and anyone who's against, who's black anyway, who's anti-ritual, anti-ceremony, but claim, I'm into Africa. No, you're not. Because if you were, you will understand the importance of ritual. And all powerful people on the planet, there are no exceptions to the rule. Worship, and I'm using worship to mean honor. The sun, the moon, the stars, ancestors, seasons, and reproductive organs. All right, kids here. There are no exceptions to the rule at all. So if you want to disempower a people, you tell them stop doing ritual. If you want to disempower people, tell them to stop doing ceremony. While people in power do it all the time. Holidays, military, everything. Yes. That's how you will power, through ritual. Spirit does not die. We continually make the religious and philosophical statement through ritual. So we make our statement of what and who we are through our history by doing ritual. Because we honor our ancestors and we honor the deities, which are actually ancestors. Because for us, God or nature, or whatever term you choose to use from an African language, the Creator is our oldest ancestor. Say that. The Creator is our oldest ancestor. So to venerate the Creator is to venerate your ancestor, because your ancestor is your direct line going all to the Creator. Now, if you want to go into physics, talk about the Big Bang, so be it. We're cool with that. We don't have a problem with physics. If we remember, then that physically deceased members of the family continue to be part of the family, and we are assured of immortality. So when people say, y'all worship the dead people, all kind of stuff, no, that person has no character about him or her. All powerful people recognize their ancestors. That's why if you go into a military base, some of them will have a table set aside. They'll take a chair, lean it forward, and it'll have food on there, and it may have like something written as dedication to fallen military personnel. They worship their ancestors. Guess where they got that from? All right? We put a plate for our ancestors, right? That food, all that's for our ancestors. They got from us. We must perform the ritual of ancestor communion daily, a ritual of spiritual union and communication. That is very important for us to do, because that's who we are. So we have to be careful as practitioners not to become anti-intellect. See, when we juxtapose or place things against each other by saying, well, this person's real intellectual, I'm more, which you might call right brain. If this person challenges me, all of a sudden, I need to tell it, you shouldn't be so, intellectual. So now you're demonizing intellect. But nature has granted you with the brain to think. Intellect was created by the Creator if we use this logic, right? We understand Jehuti represents intelligence. We understand Seshat, the scribe S, writing, record keeping. We understand that there's a term that's Sa'ah, it means intelligence. In Kemet, there's a deity named after that. Sa'ah is a deity, and Sa'at is the female counterpart. Because Dr. Ben says what? For every god, there's a goddess, and for every goddess, there's a god. Was he being pseudo? Because he spoke about God? Last time I saw Dr. Ben personally was 2003. He said it to me. And it rings forever for me. In fact, he was sitting actually right here. I have a picture with him. So, Dr. Ben believed in God. So, I don't care what anybody says. So, for in Kemet, intelligence was raised to the level of a deity. So we have to use our intelligence intelligently. We have to use, the concepts of spirit for us, which is actually over symbolic or symbolisms, with research. Bring them together. This is what I'm saying to our practitioners. Don't look at things that are intellectual as bad. Embrace them. Incorporate them. Reevaluate. Utilize the whole capacity of our brain. People tell us we don't use 100%. We only use 10%, but technically that's a myth when we look at neuroscience. However, the point of it is you can use more of your brain, technically, but you have to exercise it. Right? You can't just sit. Now, again, meditation. Use meditation. It helps you with focus. Use that. Now, when you are challenged, do you meditate in the midst of a challenge? Imdisha talks about the ball. A ball, no matter where it touches on the ground, it touches at a center. Right? Always keep your center. That's ma'at. So, many of us have been in these arguments with intellectuals, right? So, we're going to go to Ptahhotep here's a few ways to deal with that. Okay, so if you meet a disputant in action, a powerful man superior to you, or perceived superior, fold your arms, bend your back. To fly him will not make him agree with you. So, someone who's greater than you, just because you argue back, usually will not make somebody agree with you. All right? Make little of evil speech by not opposing him while he's in his action. So, in the moment when it's happening, just chilling. Come back later. He will be called an ignoramus. Your self-control will match his pile of words. You have to exercise self-control. Next, if you meet a disputant in action who is your equal or on your level, you will make your work exceed his by silence. While he is speaking badly, there will be much talk by the hearers. Your name will be good in the mind of the magistrates. In other words, people make videos and all that kind of stuff. So you don't have to respond badly. Let them do that. So when history looks at who does bad behavior, it won't be you. Let that be the other person. If you meet a dispute in action, a poor man who is not your equal, do not attack him because he is weak. Let him alone. He will confute himself. Do not answer him to relieve your heart. In other words, if you meet someone who doesn't have as much knowledge as you do, don't go out and try to crush that person. Unless the person is your actual opponent. So I think Taka Kilimanjaro would say something like, don't bring combat to people who don't deserve it. So he said those words to me, and it rang true. That's also in the book. Does everyone have this work here?
Yes.
If you don't have it. You need to get it. We have some in the back too. Yes, purchase it. Yeah, there you go. He got the expanded revised version. It's out. Everyone who's a command practitioner needs to have this book and read it in full. Utilize. So, I got you. You need to write it down. Okay. Now, here's a message for the intellectuals. So in Kemet, we have the Sesh, who were the intellectuals. The Sesh were the Seba'u. So we know that it's Seba. The word Seba comes from the word to teach, to instruct. And a teacher, instructor is, for a male, technically, is Seba'u, technically. Seba'u and it's Sebat, or teacher. So when I call Dr. K, I would say Sebat. A Seba, you are to have morals and ethics, subdue your ego. It is unbecoming of a scholar to ridicule and just make fun of people. That says more about you than the person you're making fun of.
That's right.
So, since we're speaking about scholars, here's another one. Dr. Asa Hilliard, this is our SAR group here. So this is a great ancestor, and I had the privilege of meeting him at an ASCAT conference. So let's speak about leadership and integrity. All right, so we're going to go to page 9. African teachers. He has African students and African teachers. And he speaks about what's called Medu-Nefer. Medu-Nefer is good speech. And if you are a Seba or a teacher or someone who's influencing others, you have to exercise Medu-Nefer. Say that? Medu-Nefer. So Medu is words of speech, Nefer, good. Notice that the adjective came after the noun. That's the grammar. You wouldn't say Nefer, Medu. It doesn't make sense in the thinking pattern of the Kemetic people. Because grammar rules gives you the world view of people. That's why if you study Medu-Nefer, if you do not study the grammar, you will not understand the psychology. Okay? Because in this case, the noun, the object, is primary. Its description is secondary. Where in English, description is first. A red room. A good basketball. But for us, that which is being spoken about is primary. That's why you have to study Medu-Nefer. If you want to understand the psychology, there's no way around it. Okay, that's just a side note. So he has these sections in here. Now we're going to go to page 80. I'm trying to go through this a little quicker. All right. So on page 80, he's speaking about Ptah-Hotep. He says this: the scribe, Ptah-Hotep, requires God's permission to teach. Therefore, teaching is a spiritual task, divinely sanctioned. Now, what is the significance of that? When you are praying to a divine principle, what it does psychologically is it keeps you humble. You're always thinking of in a sense of accountability. But if you think, oh, there is no God, I can do what I want. Everything else is beneath me. You have no sense of accountability. That's why that is dangerous.
That's right. Teach it.
See, when you will power and you don't think nothing is above you, you just say anything to anybody without thinking about any consequences, and you don't care.
That's right.
That speaks about the character of the person doing it. But however, if you say, okay, say Nazarak Amun, Dua'u Neter, or Dua'u Inter, what you're doing is you're keeping yourself with a sense of accountability, which also influences your sense of responsibility to other people.
That's right.
And if you don't, then this is what happens that we've seen in the community. 2, experience is the high qualification. Let me say it again. Experience is the high qualification. So if we experience the positive effects of what we're doing, that qualifies us. Teaching is to hearers, is for hearers. Hearers and listeners at the end of this section. Okay, let's keep going. The teacher teaches, quote, the words of the ones who listened to the ancestral ways and who listened to the gods. But that's what we put here. One aim of teaching is to eliminate strife from among the people, to bring harmony, to bring order. So, If you are influencing people and you're causing strife, I'll let y'all figure that out. Number 2, let's go to page 82, 1 through 4. So Ptahhotep teaches that teachers, learners, and listeners are to do the following. 1, subdue pride, which blinds or clouds perception. This is where you're being prevented. Subdue arrogance, which also blinds and clouds perception. Aspire to perfection. You deal with corrective things that are corrective and creative. Be open to all, however, be corrective and creative. So you want to be open to conversations with people. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to disagree. You have to agree all the time, but find respectful ways to disagree. This is where you have to employ what's called emotional intelligence. It's a theory about the 8 different types of intelligences. So, let's go back again to this anti-ritual. So, when you're anti-ritual, anti-ceremony, this also means or implies that you're anti-African. Because who else in this world, go to history, who told us not to do ritual and not to do ceremony? Yes, exactly. What happened to us? We were beaten, burned, raped, abused in order not to do it. So when we have people amongst ourselves demonizing us for doing it, whose behavior does your behavior match? Don't match ours. So does anyone have this book here? Urugu?
2.
You should have it. Before I go to Urugu, let's go through this quickly. Anybody ever seen this book before? So this is by Dr. Yosef Ben Yaakov. So I want everybody to see this. This is the Alkebulans of Talmeri's mystery system and the ritualization of the late brother, I'll leave his name out of respect, by Yosef Ben Yaakov. So this, I believe this came out in 1980. Well, you know how people tell us, oh, y'all making up stuff. Y'all doing rituals or burial rituals, right? You can do it if you want to. What you want to do about it? Okay, that was just being a little facetious. However, well, we revere Dr. Ben. Now, many people who say these bad things about us revere Dr. Ben, right? They say we make up stuff. So I'm going to show y'all an image. This is Dr. Ben in the temple in Kemet doing a burial ritual. So it's by the same logic, Dr. Ben is sued up. Don't repeat that. Don't go out and say, oh, Sonjedi said Dr. Ben is sued up. That's not what I'm saying. By your logic, if Dr. Ben is doing a ritual and he's using symbolisms, which is his prerogative, it has this brother's ashes, and we know that's typically not an African practice. Typically. That's typically an Indo-European practice. So by that logic, we should not be following Dr. Ben because all the pictures are here. So guess what? Dr. Ben does rituals and Dr. Ben believes in God and nature like we do. You know, you can say what you want, but here's the evidence. Okay, so let's go through Urugu. Urugu, an African-centric critique of European cultural thought and behavior. So there's some terms that we really need to understand here. Glossary. Let's go to scientism. Scientism. The ideological use of science defined Eurocentrically as an activity which sanctions all thought and behavior. That is, science becomes sacred, the highest standard of morality. Now, this is where you're taking science and using it as an ideology, which is not an African concept. It is Eurocentrism. So you bash other people. When we do this, we bash other people and say, well, you're not scientific. You know, how is that scientific? Etc. And yet, you're anti-ritual, anti-everything, then you're using scientism, which is not an African concept. Next. Desacralization, the alienation and objectification of nature. In this view, nature becomes the adversary. This approach to reality originates in unnaturalness. So, even though I don't think there's anything in nature that can be unnatural because everything exists within the universe. But that's my criticism of that part. However, so we're into being natural, right? So if someone objectifies and alienates nature, then they essentially alienate and objectify people who are into being what we define as natural. Materialization. This begins with the separation of spirit and matter. This separation, in turn, results in the denial of spirit, which is despiritualization, the loss of meaning, and the loss of cosmos. So I think that part's important, the loss of meaning. So what we do has meaning for us. So when people come and say, well, that don't mean, that has no meaning, then they're implying we're going to take away your agency of your experience. Now, in defense of that, if it's a valid critique, then, okay, listen to it. My advice for people who are scholastic, let me give you a way to give things to practitioners. I'm just going to role play. I'm going to say Quasi, just random. Hey, Brother Quasi, I know that you study the Kemetic, you go to a temple, etc. Hey, I got some research, from these temples about ritual. Hey, I'm going to pass it to you. Let me see what y'all can do with it. Was that egotistical? Let me do it another way. Yo, man, you doing the rituals, man. Y'all ain't studying nothing. You know what I mean? You ain't got no accurate information, man. Bump y'all. Y'all ain't da-da-da-da-da. How is that going to go over? No. There's a way to do it. See? When I present information to, our priests, I'm never disrespectful. I trust their judgment, give it, let them see, okay, how can we use this? And we move on, right? We have to be respectful. And if you say, no, I don't want to use that, I'm okay with that. See? Because it's about it's about the group, the good of the group. So there's no need for us to be disrespectful to each other. So we understand also the arguments regarding the place named Kemet. So in that conversation, that entire circumstance, it really disappointed me as one of your children. And I'm going to speak on behalf of my generation. I'm 39, so if you're somewhere in there, then we're in the same generation. And those younger. People say we're out of war. We say cultural wars, war for history. So we go out there, we're getting slammed out there, right? But when I come to my own community and I have new information and my elder stomps me down, what am I supposed to do with that? I feel like I'm between a rock and a hard place. I'm rejected over here, then I go to my own, I'm rejected over here. So, to my elders, think about what that breeds. Does it breed healthy relationships? No. Our elders, our ancestral scholars, that's Dr. Ben, Dr. Shekin Tajok, many of those who have passed, Chancellor Williams, all of them, even the ones who are still with us, Theophilus Ben, etc. They expect us, if you have a question, you see something you don't know about, what are you supposed to do? Research it, right? You say, okay, I doubt that. That's a little different. Read it first, study it, then come back with the question. That's what they kind of teach us, right? Is that the right thing to do? Rather than looking at the cover, oh, that's trash. You made a statement. Oh no, I don't believe that. You're against African people. And you didn't even read the. But wait a minute. I will have to remind myself, and this is for our elders. Please continue to demonstrate what you taught us to do. Do that which each man teaches as he acts. So when it came to the conversation about Kemet, it was, you're disrespecting Di. What are you talking about? We have quotes from Diop saying, don't take my word for it. My bad. You taught us to research and study. We researched and studied. Found something that was a little inconsistent. Okay, let's build on it. That's what happened. In fact, I even went out of my way and got this book. This is Sheikh Anta Diop's linguistic book, 1977. It's really hard to get by. I had to call France to get this book. And a Pan-African bookstore called Planeta Genesi. So this book here, pardon my, if I don't pronounce the French all that good. So Planeta Genesi, de l'Egyptian Forani, et des linguistes Negro-African. So this is about the relationship between Quranic Egyptian and modern Black African languages. So all this Kemet versus West Africa, stop it, okay? So chapter 5 of this book, he speaks about the term Kemet. It's only on just a few pages. So we just expanded on it. And there were some things that we found that were inconsistent, and based on the new research dealing with linguistics that Sheikh Anta Diop urged us to do, as well as Steve Benga dealing with linguistics, we found new information and expounded on it. And we found out that the place name Kemet, not the adjective, there's a difference. So anyone who says that I said word Kemet doesn't mean black, please stop. The place name Kemet is different from the adjective. Because remember, the vowels are not written. So you can have different words that have the same consonants, that have completely different meanings. And just like if you take B, you can say Bob or you can say bid, right? Or the other word, two O's in there. But, so, all right, anyway, so you can do different things with the consonants, right? You see how it has completely different meaning. We would never mistake the B-O-O-B with bid or baby, right? Even more baby. Yeah, B and B, put the Y there, completely different. So with Kem, you have the same thing. So the Kemet for the place name comes from a word that has to do with ground, land, country. A land that with water flowing through it. Isn't that what Kemet is? A land with water flowing through it, with greenery on both sides. Okay, so so we had a bad response to that. But however, if you just simply read the work, then you'll understand, and it's okay. It doesn't mean that we're saying they're not black, okay? Because the people in Kemet were African. So I'm saying again, the people in Kemet were African. We're on the same page, and it's okay. The place name doesn't need to mean black. It's okay. The world is not ending. Okay, we came with some new research. It can be demonstrated. It's okay. So remember, my elders, we are your children. Embrace us. Step in and help us. Don't reject, because we are the future. We're the key to your future. You are our key to the past. We need each other. So, young folk, everybody, I'm not going to let y'all off the hook. We cannot disrespect elders. To ask the question, should we respect the elders? Just that question alone is problematic. Why would you do that? But then turn around, I just asked the question. No. Anyone who understands what's called like public relations and journalism knows that when you ask a question like that, you're implying I'm not going to say positive, in the affirmative of the question, usually. But knowing that people are going to start thinking that way, that's wrong. And if you're saying, well, I'm African too, I'm African descendant, no, you're not asking a question like that. Dr. John Henry Clark, in his debate, he, speaking about his opponent, and I have to paraphrase, he's saying how, based on these questions, I can tell which you have not read. So that goes for people who are asking that question, who act like they have all this knowledge, but we know what you have not read and what you have not studied. you are understudied and unscholastic. And if you think that you're being African with that, you know, we can do the challenge. Do the challenge. Show me your evidence. We can go. However, in Africa, across the board, respect for ancestors is paramount. And we can bring up the documents all day, every day. So with that being said, I want to say thank you for your attention. Thank you for listening to my rant. You know, just the little emotional content there. But it's important for us as Kemetic people, in particular, in general, those who are into African traditions, to study your craft. And you may be challenged, not by others, but simply by your study. And it's okay to make modifications to how you think about things and approach things. To be intellectual is to be African. To be spiritual is to be African. It is all together. So with that being said, do I need to?
Can everyone please stand? We're going to close out. Arms come up at a 90-degree angle. Are we leaving in peace and satisfaction?
True.
Then everyone please say Shemi Amatep. Brothers, cross your arms over your chest, right over left. Sisters, cross left over right. Dianu, Anku Jasanev. Open your arms, give energy around the room. Bring your hands into the body and slide the energy down so we can ground it out. On a count of 3, stop with your right foot. 1, 2, 3. Dua Netter. Everyone, before you go, please make sure to make a donation by leaving it in the bowl near the door, or you can leave it with Sir Chef Armikawu if you did not already do so at the altars. Those of you who are online, we thank you in advance for sending your donations to our PayPal account, which is templeofanu@gmail.com, or our Cash App, which is Temple of Anu, no spaces and no special characters. Additionally, the marketplace is open. The Sesh Naswu spoke about the Ma'at book. We have our Kemetic candles, bath salts, and etc. Nasib Biddy has his healing oil and other, the Juju bag, etc. So please come to the back and check us out before you go. And help yourself to the welcome table, particularly for our guests. Make sure you guys get a snack before you go. Dua Netter.